what? There has never been a time in my life where I've been one to been on the motherfucking camera. But so it goes, I suppose. Thank you. I want to genuinely thank the Berlin community and tech community, any other community, and specifically BigchainDB and very specifically Carly Sheridan for jumping in here without a whole lot of time and notice to facilitate this. So thank you very, very much. It was really nice. And I've been to Berlin. Been to Berlin now several times, still trying to understand the city, but it's nice today. Usually there's some precipitate coming, frozen precipitate. So I'm going to try to go pretty fast, but Open Music is a consortium that was started about a year and a half ago at Berkeley by myself, Panos Panay, Michael Hendricks. Panos is from Berkeley as well, Michael Hendricks from IDEO, and Harvard Berkman Center at MIT, with a very distinct goal to try to arrive at interoperability between various music services as well as music creators. We've been able to gain traction for one reason only, because we have this sort of veneer of academia. There's been a lot of people in institutions that have tried to do some sort of global rights database, and they all fail under their own weight for a lot of reasons. I'm going to try to walk through George's sort of rationale for where we are right now and what led to this, and then talk a little bit about how we go from here, where we go from here. So this is a building in Boston, and many moons ago it was the Tower Records building, and it didn't always have this crazy ass thing up there, right? And in 1989, Frank Gehry, right? Frank Gehry said, "I'm gonna stick this motherfucker on there," right? And 1989 was this amazing sort of moment in time. You had, in addition to Frank Gehry just weirdly putting things on buildings, you had the Frank Miller sort of reinvention of Batman. You had Paul's Boutique. You had De La Soul's 3 Feet High and Rising. It was a really, really incredible cultural moment. And the Dark Knight Batman and all this sort of weird, what we sort of look back on as postmodernism in the smashing together of things, taking old institutions and smashing new things onto them and sort of remixing and mashing up and everything else. 10 years down the road, if you went down Mass Ave that way, there's Berkeley, by the way. If you went down Mass Ave just a little bit, you'd hit Northeastern University, where some stoner was in his dorm room coding up Napster, right? Sean Fanning. So lots of weird things happening in this general vicinity. And the irony, of course, is that it was led to this because we had the music industry systematically and from day one refusing to listen to customers, right, or market signals. And so I will tell you one thing. It is almost impossible to find clip art of a distribution curve. And I have tried. And I have also tried to code it out with my little Excel, and it always comes out like it's got like a tumor over here or something, right? So I just drew it. But so this is a like innovator's dilemma distribution curve, where you have the incumbents up at the top, the customers in the bottom, and then innovation on either side. And this gap and layers in between. I use this to view my world, right? All my world can be explained with this. I can explain Trump with this, right? I will not, but I could explain Trump with this. I will not. But the bottom line is that you get this sort of vast adherence to a cash cow. You're sitting up here and you think, I know what our customers want. It's this cash cow. It makes delicious milk. We will continue to drink it. And on the other side, people start craving soy or goat milk or whatever. And the people up here go, oh, but no one will ever really like soy or goat milk or whatever. Steve Ballmer laughing at the iPhone in 2007, right? There is video of Steve Ballmer laughing at the iPhone. So this vast adherence over this, even while shooting stars, these people on this side start presenting themselves, right? I love this line. I wish I had said it, but the music industry adopted new technology just so in the Amish. I will add to it. The Amish do this thing called rumspringa, right? Where they jump out and they explore the world and do all sorts of crazy ass shit, and then some of them come back and go, I really don't like buttons. But the Amish in the music industry innovate at roughly the same time, the same rate. And you see this because every time some kind of new technology comes along, they just try to destroy it, going all the way back to piano rolls, right? The music industry had a thing, okay, we're going to take music, we will have sheet music, it will be a good business. Technology, right? Technology comes along with piano rolls and music boxes. We still have a term for it. This is how fast we evolve, right? The term mechanical royalties, which, where's my man Erik? Erik deals with every day, right? That originated when we mechanically reproduced sheet music in a music box, a mechanical royalty, right? So then we try to destroy vinyl, try to sue them into oblivion. Something happened with my cassette little icon between Boston and here, someone ripped it off, but you can imagine a cassette sitting right there and then someone stealing it, right? I'm old enough to remember this. You know what the cassette manufacturers did? Or no, the record industry said, fine, you go ahead and sell blank cassettes. We want a royalty on every one you sell, whether you use it for whatever you want, right? Same thing with CDs. The first record company I ran, record company called Rycordisc, first CD-only label. Our whole thing was, we think the customers might like CDs. The major labels said, no, CDs, they're just a fad. They were right, but it was a 30-year fad. And during that time, and in the first year or so, we were able to get the licenses from David Bowie and Frank Zappa and Elvis Costello. I sold 1 million David Bowie records like that on CD, right? And then the major labels start picking up speed. Then along comes my man, right? And he sticks this out there, and he can't. Right? The canary dies, right? The music business, a canary in a coal mine. As goes the music business, so goes everything else. And all along the way, the music business would show the way until we get to this moment in time. And really, it happened long before this, okay? Music, and people are starting to steal this line a lot, but I'm going to blockchain it. But music, when it transformed from analog to digital, when something that you could hold to something that's just ones and zeros, people share it. Why do people share stuff? If you've ever been around a baby, you know that babies don't need to talk in like structured words to get what they want. They can scream at different pitches and tonalities, and you know exactly what they want. Babies fight really hard to talk because they want that connection, that sharing moment. People share information, right? Aristotle or Socrates or someone said that. The quote, it's always like half right. People always take the top of this or the bottom, whatever. On the one hand, information wants to be, so they always take this one. Everybody says information wants to be free. No, it doesn't. Why? Why does information want to be, what are we talking about? It doesn't even make any sense. It's both sides of it. On the one hand, information wants to be expensive because it's valuable. And on the other hand, it wants to be free because getting it out, because of Moore's law, gets lower and lower all the time. So you have this competition. So Roger Clark is worth knowing. Roger Clark in the 80s wrote a book called The Whole Earth Review. It's kind of Amazon in book form. But it had this kind of arch, like sort of, anarchist sort of bent. And he's out in what is now known as Silicon Valley, and he's disseminating this stuff. Well, who's reading it? It's Jobs and Wozniak and all these guys. This informed really what we think of today as the www layer of the internet. Tom Friedman, whatever you think of him, he's sort of anecdotal. But man, I don't know who he stole this moment from, but whoever he did is owed a big debt. And if Tom figured it out himself, good on him. 2007 was this amazing moment in time, and it was due to this sort of Moore's law trajectory with ever cheaper processing power. Basically, Amazon saying, "Yeah, we will never go down." Right? So lots of server farms, and the first internet bubble, where companies like Corning had more money than they knew what to do with, and layered the world with fiber optic cable, and it all came together in 2007. And as Friedman points out in his new book, that was the year that the iPhone is launched, the year that Twitter is launched, the year that Facebook comes out of the .edu realm, and the year that Airbnb is launched. So you get this subset of this sort of conflagration of things coming together all at this time. And it led to these platforms, right? And when we think of platforms, you have to imagine sort of a bubble in the air, and then the user-generated content coming up, and then people sort of consuming it from on here with one, and the platform has one goal and one goal only. To sort of net promoter score, to sort of shift the burden of promotion from the people down here that are just bringing it up to the people that are consuming, so that one consumer goes, oh, I also want to share a photo, and comes around and produces it too, and that's how you get a flywheel. So this is easier sometimes to understand if you think like Kickstarter than it is Facebook. Kickstarter, everybody thinks of it as a way that you can sort of pre-sell some shitty remote control that they'll never deliver, right? But on the other hand, the people that buy that shitty remote control that never gets delivered $400 later, right, also go, I have an idea for a better one of these, right? And that's where you get the platform effect, the sort of network effect. And there are all these great platforms, right? And I'm defining them as great, not with any bias on sort of quality, but on the fact that they sort of overcame network effect. And if you look at these as I go through this list real fast, think about the exits that they had, right? So, I mean, we all know Facebook, Twitter, be they are, whatever they are right now, they had an amazing IPO, right? They did. Tumblr, you know, whatever they are right now, they got bought for $1 billion, so Marissa could destroy them too, right? Instagram, 3 years, $2 billion, right? They all had these exits, right? And they had exits essentially because they got that flywheel virality going, right? Where people up here said, oh, I'll do some more. My friends. I love you. I was at a meeting, the OMI thing today. I told people in that meeting that I loved them like 4 times, right? I'm sort of an Asperger introvert, so I really do, right? I'm pissed, okay? Because SoundCloud did everything right. If you think about delightful UX, if you think about delightful experience, if you think about a platform where, okay, I'm going to seed it with user-generated content, and I'm going to create a platform with one goal in mind, to organize, distribute, disseminate, and convert those that are consuming to also be users. Who did it better, right? Did Twitter do it better? Did Facebook? No. SoundCloud did it just as well, if not better, and yet no exit. Right? Not only no exit, we all have friends who have lost their jobs, right? And the good news is that Google Doc that's floating around with all those people, we should be a check mark on all those people just getting, I mean, of course they should all get jobs, and they will. No existential writers here, or readers, or whatever. It's my awesome humor. So why? Why was there no exit for SoundCloud with all the others had the big exits, right? And it comes down to this. It comes down to the different types of copyright that are involved. If you think about Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and the sort of fundamental meta quality of their product, the distinction is music. And so music, at its essence, is any song is composed of 2 sort of root copyrights. The P, which is owned or controlled by the person that performs or the label, and the C, the person that creates the composition, melody, lyric. But anyone that changes it, anybody that does the audio equivalent of putting bats on Mona Lisa is infringing on both of these rights. And so then we have to do legislation, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Say that 5 times fast, toy boat. And at core, it creates a chilling effect, right? The Shining. And it stifles innovation. Because when you look at all of the other companies that built platforms that are objectively no better than SoundCloud and their exits, and then you look at SoundCloud and not being able to exit, venture capitalists and others go, yeah, we're not doing music. Right? No money comes into the music space. But there is some light on the horizon. A little humble brag here, my company, Max, just got funded $6 million. Dubstep just got funded. Amper just got funded. So why? Why now are we starting to see some money coming into music, whereas before it was really bereft? It was really, 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 really hard to get money if you were a music startup. And I think the answer has to do with there's a sort of seismic shift. If historically Universal had been up at the top, going back to my awesomely drawn distribution curve here, and someone like Spotify was down at the innovation level. Spotify launched in the United States in 2011 with one goal and one goal only. We got to get Universal's catalog, right? They had to. And they had to essentially give up the farm. Eric can comment on that in a minute. To get it. But now, however many years later, who needs who more? If Spotify woke up one day and said, you know what, Warner Brothers? We will not be carrying your catalog anymore. Spotify would survive, right? I don't know if Warner Brothers would. So we're seeing sort of a shift here between the power dynamics. Of course, once you get up in this power dynamic, Eric, you got to stay innovative down here on the surface, and we know we will because Eric's here. Right? And then interesting, Chance the Rapper, he said, yeah, fuck both of you, right? And thank you, SoundCloud, at his Grammy acceptance speech. Right? So maybe it's not these guys or these guys, maybe it's this guy that now starts to be. And maybe on these sides it's blockchain, it's VR, it's AI, whatever. I think Trent's onto something with the self-owning song. But in order to get there, we have to advance my slides. We have to go from modeling to measuring. Used to be, and maybe still is in some places, where some dude would sort of crawl through your shrubbery to get to your electric reader. And he'd look at the little dial spinning, and he'd take a note, and then you'd never see him again for 3 or 4 months. And during that time, they'd still send you bills, and they were modeling it on your usage over that time. Well, it's hugely inexact. Of course, you don't need to do that anymore. The music business is still really consumed with this idea that we have to model. A song gets played on the radio, a song gets played in a public venue, and we kind of extrapolate, right? That's craziness in 2017 when we're in an era of structured data. So much of the project of the Open Music Initiative is to get out in front of this idea that if we can move to more of a measured approach rather than a modeled approach, if we can move to a decentralized approach, if we can move to a place where we're innovating down at the ends of the distribution curve, we got a shot at least of pulling in the content from everyone else and allowing for these licenses and new opportunities to emerge. Because the peril of SoundCloud wasn't the fact that they built a bad system, they built a beautiful system. The peril of it was they couldn't exit because no big company wanted to acquire lawsuits, and that's what would have happened, right? No one's going to sue SoundCloud right now because if they did, they're judgment proof. They don't have any money to pay. It's the same reason no one sued YouTube back before Google bought them. And the moment Google bought them, they got sued because they were recoverable. That's crazy. There are customers love SoundCloud. They want to keep using SoundCloud. Rights holders want to keep using SoundCloud. We've got these crufty systems that are based on modeling rather than measuring that are keeping innovation from coming, and that's really what we're trying to do with Open Music Initiative. So we ramped up for about a year, and then last year here in Berlin, last May, here in Berlin, we sat around a room with some amazing participants. Again, back all props to BigchainDB and to Spotify and to SoundCloud, and we sat, and Tim and Alberto actually sat and coded together an API to show that we can actually do this. And God bless them, today people from Amazon and Red Bull and who else was there, Gemma, and they all got together around a room and said, yeah, we're going to start putting some data into this. Is it going to be a lot of data? I mean, I hope so, but probably not. Is it going to be a proof of concept? And the general thesis is if we can get two parties that otherwise would be adverse to say, you know what, we do have some benefit sharing information, and we're going to open it just enough so the third party can grab from it, you get this logarithmic thing that eventually captures network effect. So the little windmill that I'm tilting at with OMI is to say, well, can I do more of these? Okay, so done Berlin, where do I go next? Right? Where are these other companies that can start joining in? At the same time, we're doing the summer lab. So every Monday I go down to IDEO and MIT, and I try to be patient with little monkeys down there as they come up with ideas. I know what we should do, Professor Howard. Yeah? And they got all sorts of ideas. What if? And I love it, right? But the cool thing is, that's fundamental. That's our DNA, right? We're academics, but we're also innovators and entrepreneurs, hopefully. And so having these students sort of hacking away is great. Not great in a vacuum, but really great if I can call up the people here in this room and call Berlin and say, hey, I've got some student who's built something. Could you advise them, and can we lock this together? And I think it's that two-sided coin, the sort of industry and the academia that keeps us from being another GRD. So we believe this is sort of how we open music. That's what I got for you.
We'll open the floor to questions if anyone has some for George.
Yes, sir.
So, I have this question. Do the people in the music industry in the US understand that they might be able to harass people for some couple of years maybe, but they are not able to prevent the innovation from happening, and in a couple of years the whole IP or copyright will not be enforceable technically? Do they understand that?
I don't know that I buy into your premise, my man, but Look, I'm a copyright lawyer. And an American, so we're off to a good start. I don't think fundamentally that copyright is the problem. I think inability to enforce and track rights is the problem. Like I know the copyright code back and forward, right? It's fungible. Copyright is perfectly fungible to accommodate AR, AI, blockchain, whatever. Enforcing those rights at scale is something we've been very, very bad at. But I'm not sure I'm quite grasping the comment, though I love the spirit of it, because it was sort of like, do you realize how fucked you are? Right?
So my question is that in a couple of years there will be some projects up and running which allow people to share information with encryption and so on and so forth, and so it will be not traceable, and it's not going to be possible to intercept information exchange and enforce. So do people understand that and take steps to accommodate to that? Well,
what would you do? I mean, with that person, what would you do? You just go cry in the corner. I mean, I don't. What would you do if that's your vision? I mean, what do we do? Just stop? I mean, I believe in the rights of the artist to either try to monetize their works or give it away. I don't want to dictate that. I write music all the time that nobody should ever hear, but I don't like if I want to give it away, if I want to sell it, it's on me, right? If some system is created that obviates that, I don't want to go to some dark place, but probably we end up with some kind of universal basic income. But it's really sort of, I don't know. Yeah,
you've been thinking a lot about blockchain and.
I don't mean to dismiss it. I just don't understand. Yeah.
You've been thinking a lot about blockchain and music, and obviously have a long history. In sort of George's ideal world of in 2 years, 5 years.
Full of tequila. Yes.
There we go. In 5 years, what is the ideal outcome for the intersection of blockchain and music?
Well, the idea, I'm sorry, were you done?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So the ideal outcome is that we never utter the word blockchain, right? Like, so that it should be, any sufficient technology is distinguishable from magic, right? Clark's Law, right? So we should not be at a place where we're even having to say those words any more than we say TCP/IP, right? It should just be, I'm a creator. I can take my work, I can set a bunch of rules for it that are machine readable, and other people, maybe this goes to your point in the gray sweatshirt, and other people can read that and use that, and when they do, I am compensated, and I'm compensated in some sort of cryptocurrency because it's going to be fractions of micropayments. And my ideal world is that we start getting more music adjacencies into it, like the project that I'm probably most passionate about. I work with this company that helps people with Alzheimer's through music, right? That's hard. I battle with those motherfucking PROs all the time to help people with Alzheimer's with music, right? I should not have to do that. They should be saying, hey, use our music and pay us. And I think we're heading there. We really are. Blockchain may facilitate that. I'm a true believer, obviously. You are too. But it's really not the technology. It goes exactly to your point. We should be able to set rules around how our music is used, and people should be able to search for those, and it should be open enough that we can reconfigure and make it more fungible, and rights at the stem level should come out. I do not believe in this horseshit of minimal viable data. Machines will solve that. We will use machines to figure out stem level of who wrote what song. We don't, an artist will never, ever do that. There is no scenario where an artist will sit there and type in their minimum viable data unless you pay them, right? I have opinions.
I have a question for you. What do you think is the biggest technical bottleneck to making an application layer of the blockchain the most viable alternative to the
Awesome
centralized?
question. Skeuomorphism, right? We're not thinking in terms of what Trent said, like sort of what the end goal in mind is. We're trying to now say, I know, let's put ASCAP's data on a blockchain. That's not going to happen. Stop trying to do that, right? Instead, let's try to figure out new and interesting ways at a UI layer, at the sort of top of the stack, that make it a delightful user experience. My hope is that some of these brilliant SoundClouders will go, okay, we know how to make a delightful top-level stack, right? Again, blockchain's just a smart database, right? But you need a two-sided market, and that's what we're trying to seed. So there are people, I think there are people in this room that are making really interesting top level of the stack. we have liquidity problems. We don't have network effect. And a lot of that is because, the big names are really locked under contract. So even if U2 decided they wanted to do something on blockchain, Universal Records would say, yeah, no, you don't, right? And they're gonna say, okay. But I think it's two things. I think it's the very bottom, it's the data set, and then a delightful user experience. But then blockchain becomes invisible. Well, okay.
Who's gonna buy SoundCloud?
Well, no, but the drag about it is, here's my little thesis, is that these layoffs happen now because there's someone that's ready to buy them and they didn't want to be the motherfucking bad guy, right?
Yeah.
No, you fire them, then we'll buy you. I'm just guessing. Thank you, Berlin.